Welcome to the Forest of Thought with me, Ingrid Reeser. In 1962, a young man named Satish Kumar set out with his friend Prabakhar on a pilgrimage for peace that would take him around the world, changing the course of his own life and that of many others. Later on, Satish dedicated himself to the work of making peace with nature as the editor of the ecological magazine Resurgence and in helping to found Schumacher College, a school for transformative learning. We first met when I did my master's at that college more than a decade ago. In this conversation, we talk about the power of walking and of pilgrimage, about the kind of education we're in need of today, and about whether working for peace means the same thing today as when Satish was young.
At the moment, the big problem in our world is that we are always trying to bring uniformity rather than diversity. We want everybody to follow the American way or the capitalist way or the free market way or whatever democracy we believe in. This uniformity is not natural. Nature is diverse. No two trees are same. No two human beings are same. So unless we embrace this diversity, we are not going to have peace.
Satish is a lifelong activist and former monk. Now in his late 80s, Satish has devoted his life to campaigning for ecological regeneration and social justice. He spoke to me from his home in Heartland, Devon. First of all, Satish, thank you for taking time to have this conversation. You must be one of the busiest, almost 90-year-olds I know. You have so much going on, so thank you for that. For this
My
opportunity.
pleasure.
Yeah. And we met when I was studying at Schumacher College it's already a long time ago, 2012, 2013, I was there. And I thought I would love to talk to you a bit about the college and what's going on there.
Yes.
But first, before that, I would like to go a bit back in time and talk about walking and pilgrimage, because walking seems like it has been such a big part of your life from when you were very young. And I've heard you say that it was from the beginning, it was your mother who taught you how good it is to walk, that she was also a walker.
That's right.
Is that true?
That's right. So my mother had a small farm about 3 miles away from our home, which is quite a long way away to have a farm. But that was the only place she could acquire land. And so she will always walk. And the farm she acquired was sort of west of our house. So we'll walk in the morning so that the sun is on the back, and then walk back from the farm to the house. So sun was again on the back. So that was the one thing, because in India, sun is very hot. And therefore, you have to have sun on your back rather than in front. And my father had a horse. And sometimes he will say to my mother, why don't you take the horse and the horseman? It'll be easier for you. And also, Satish can also ride on the horse. But my mother said, no, we have 2 legs and we should walk. And how would you feel if the horse wanted to ride on you? And so she will never ride on a horse, even on a camel. She will always walk, because she said that when we have got 2 legs and they are given to us for walking, and therefore we must use them as much as we can. So I started more or less, you can say, walking when I was 4 or 5 years old. And with my mother, I walked until I was 9. And then I became a Jain monk from age 9 to 18. And the Jain monks are even more particular about walking. They will never take any vehicle, not even a bicycle, no car, no train, no bullock cart, no horses, nothing. Only walking, and walking barefoot. And so for 9 years, from age 9 to 18, I was walking as a Jain monk. And then when I left the monkhood, I also joined a great walker, and that was Vinoba Bhave. He was a great Gandhian leader, and he was a land reformer. And he walked in India for 10 years. And he walked from north to south, east to west, and the center, whole of India, for 10 years. And he walked 100,000 miles, asking landlords to give land for the poor. And he collected 4 million acres of land in that journey. So walking was an important kind of way to reach ordinary people, farmers and villagers and the land people in the rural areas. And so I was walking with Vinoba. And then, of course, I walked from India to Moscow, Paris, London, Washington, then Tokyo to Hiroshima. So that was my long walk, myself with my friend, two of us. And that was 2.5 years through 15 countries. So yes, walking has been my way of life.
Yes. Yeah. So this incredible journey that you took to all of those were the 4 nuclear powers at the time. Yes, Russia, France, the UK, and the United States. This incredible journey that took several years. What is it about? I think that you had a great impact during this journey. Of course, it had a great impact on you, but it had a great impact on those you met and the people that heard about it. And it's continuing to have an impact now, I think, with people being inspired by this example. And so what do you think it is about walking and about pilgrimage that is so powerful?
When you are walking, you are touching the soil. And as you touch the soil, you are touching the hearts and the souls of people you meet. Because it's a bit unusual that people are walking such long distance. And therefore, people immediately become interested in your life and in your walk and in your ideas. And therefore, when I was walking, one reason, as you say, I had some impact on people who I met because of my walking. They will become immediately interested. Are you walking from India to Moscow? Why? So long. It's so hard. And walking without money, so difficult. So they become interested. And so one way to reach people's hearts and their imagination and their sort of feelings and consciousness is to go on your 2 feet. And we have 2 legs. And with these 2 legs, we can go anywhere we like. Why we have to use those fossil fuel and aeroplanes and factories and so many things we do, and our travel becomes very superficial. Whereas when you are walking, your travel is much more profound, much more deep, and you are truly a pilgrim. So either you can be a pilgrim or you can be a tourist. And going by plane and by train and by car is more like a tourist. And going by foot or on your 2 legs is more like a pilgrim. So I would say that walking is a very good way to make an impact about whatever philosophy or whatever values you want to reach and promote. That's the best way is to go on your 2 legs.
Yeah, and it's also the experience for oneself, I feel, because I often feel if I'm traveling by train or by car through beautiful areas, I feel like it's going too fast. I feel disconnected from the place, and I want to just slow down to really have time to take it in.
Yeah,
so
yeah,
it's also...
absolutely. Because when you're walking, you are truly in touch with the natural world. And when I was walking over the mountains, the Hindu Kush mountains, 12,000 feet high in Afghanistan, and that was a tremendous experience. If I had gone by car, it would not be the same. And then you are in touch with the soil, you are in touch with the air, you are in touch with the sun, you are in touch with the stars, you are in touch with the night, you are in touch with the day, you are in touch with the seasons. You are truly experiencing nature, and you are truly being nature. And therefore, walking gives me great pleasure. It's a great joy. And I'm now nearly 90, and still I have energy because I walk, and my legs are strong and my body is strong because it has been always exercising. So I think if you want to live a good, healthy life, walking is the best way.
Yeah, you're still walking. I you briefly mentioned it, but I thought it was very interesting to read about how your mentor Vinoba, he gave you two weapons. He called them weapons to take with you on this walk of nonviolence, because you were walking for peace. So he gave you two weapons, and you said, how can we carry weapons when we're nonviolent? And he said, these are nonviolent weapons. Could you tell us about the two?
Yes. I mean, what he said is that weapons is to protect you. It's a kind of like a kind of defense of yourself. And so, what are the two non-violent weapons to protect you? One is that you remain vegetarian. Vinoba asked us to remain vegetarian because your attitude to nature, and particularly your attitude to animals, has to be of kindness and compassion and peace. If you make peace with nature, if you make peace with animals, then you minimize your impact on nature, and you take from nature only what your absolutely minimum need and not greed. And so being a vegetarian and making peace with nature is an essential kind of defense of your ideas and your values and your beliefs. And therefore, Vinoba said, remain a vegetarian. The second is that we were walking for peace. We were peace pilgrims. And peace begins in trust. Wars begin in fear. When you are afraid of somebody else, because you are afraid of communists or capitalists or Russians or Americans or Hindus or Muslims or Pakistanis or whoever, you are afraid. So fear, and so in order to make peace and be a peace pilgrim, you have to really be peace. And to be peace, you have to trust yourself. You have to trust every human being, whether they are Russians or Chinese or Americans or Europeans or Africans or Hindus or Muslims or rich or poor or Christians or Buddhists, whoever you are, capitalist, communist, whoever you are, everybody is a human being, and you have to trust them. How do you show that you trust? By having no money as a pilgrim, and depending on the hospitality and kindness and goodness of the strangers. And that way is the way to be peace, and trust yourself, trust people, trust nature, trust the universe, trust everything. That was the reason that walking as a vegetarian and without money gave us extra strength and extra purpose behind our walk. And that was wonderful. For 2.5 years, I did not touch money. And I went to 50 different countries, including Russia and America and Japan and Europe. And so that could not have happened the same way. And that became a very wonderful story. I can write books about it. And I can say to people that trust everybody. I trusted communists. When I was in the Soviet Union, I said, you are communist, I trust you, I love you. When I was in Europe and America, I said, you are capitalist and you are Europeans, I love you and I trust you. And when I was in Pakistan and Afghanistan and Iran, the Muslim countries, I said, you are Muslims, I trust you and I love you. So that gives you tremendous strength. That's a kind of strength that I received by having not money. And if you have love nature and love people and trust nature and trust people, then you will be true pilgrims. And that is a way to make peace. Peace is not just in the Kremlin or in the White House. No, peace is in every heart. And peace has to grow like a seed grows from the soil. Peace has to grow from every human heart. And then it will reach Kremlin and White House and all the other capitals of the world. And that is the reason that I remained a vegetarian and I remained a pilgrim without any money in my pocket.
It's beautiful because it turns the regular way we think about these things on its head, because in a way he was asking you to be vulnerable. You place yourself in a vulnerable situation of being without money, of perhaps not finding vegetarian food, and it turns it into a strength, that it's because you are vulnerable, you will be protected. Because you're vulnerable, you will be strong. So
Absolutely,
it's a beautiful
absolutely.
advice.
We are, as humans, we are vulnerable. Our body is very vulnerable, and our emotions are very vulnerable. So vulnerability is a strength. So in your softness, you have a strength. And love is very strong because love is very vulnerable and very soft and very gentle. And therefore, I think the true strength is not in nuclear bombs and armies and so on. And you can see in the world today, America is the most powerful country in terms of weapons and nuclear bombs and armies and Pentagon and so on. And Russia is very powerful and China is very powerful. Still, they are not very sure about, not very sure about their place in the world, and they don't have friends, and they don't have their way. And they are always kind of disappointed. Nobody's listening to them. And even though they have so many weapons, whereas just imagine the words of the Buddha and the words of Jesus Christ and words of Martin Luther King and Mother Teresa and Mahatma Gandhi and Nelson Mandela, these people who were vulnerable and who had love and non-violence in their heart, their words are more powerful. And millions of people pay attention to their words. Whereas who cares what Putin has to say or Trump has to say? They don't have much power. So the real power comes from trust and love and vulnerability and humanity. And these people don't understand that. This is why we have so many wars in Ukraine and Israel and between India and Pakistan and between many other countries. So I think vulnerability and love and trust are not just words. They are real source of power.
Yeah. I knew, since studying at Schumacher, I knew this story of your pilgrimage and that you also were delivering peace tea to the heads of state of these 4 nuclear powers at the time. But it wasn't until I was preparing for this interview that I realized that you didn't have this peace tea with you from the beginning. It was something that sort of emerged in the course of your trip in a wonderful and unexpected way. Would you mind just telling this story,
Yes,
how
yes.
the peace tea
I
came to
mean,
you?
it was not, the peace tea was not my idea. And I had no peace tea packets with me from India. I was walking in Georgia by the Black Sea in the Caucasus Mountains. And I was walking and I was passing a tea factory. And 2 women at lunchtime, in a kind of cool month of January, standing outside in the sun as a kind of lunch break and like it's a time off. And I gave them my leaflet about walking for peace from India without any money. And they read the leaflet and said, wow, you have walked from India to Georgia without any money. How do you eat? I said, people ask us and give us food. They thought for a minute and said, oh, this is lunchtime. Are you hungry? We can give you some food. We have very nice canteen in our tea factory. And we have wonderful tea. I said, all right. Anytime is tea time. If you are inviting us, we will have some lunch with you. And so we went in the tea factory. And they made tea for us, and they brought some bread, and they brought some cheese, and they brought some jam and some good food. And then suddenly, one of the women had a brainwave. She went out of the room. And I said, have I done something, offended her, or why she's leaving room like this suddenly? So she went out and came back with 4 packets of tea. And she said to me that, here are the 4 packets. I said, oh, thank you, but it'll be too heavy to carry. She said, no, they are not for you. I was surprised. For whom are they? They said, I would like you to be my messenger and give 1 packet of peace tea to our premier in the Kremlin, and a 2nd packet of tea to the president of France in Palais Élysée, the 3rd packet of tea to the Prime Minister of England in 10 Downing Street, and the 4th packet of tea to the President of the United States of America in the White House. I was very surprised. What is she saying? And then she said, I have a message for them. Please give my message to them that if you ever get a mad thought of pressing the nuclear button, please stop for a moment and have a fresh cup of tea. And that will give you a moment to think that your bombs will not only kill your enemies, but they will kill every man, women, children, animals, lakes, forests, everything will be destroyed. Nuclear weapons are not weapons of war, they are weapons of destruction. I was so touched. I was so inspired. Say, here's a woman and a peace tea from a woman coming with such a wonderful wisdom and idea and imagination. I mean, can you imagine such thing happening? Such a good imagination. So that was very heartening for me. And I said, now we have a mission. And our mission is to deliver the packets of peace tea to the Kremlin, to Palais Elysee, to 10 Downing Street, and to the White House. And that was wonderful. And we did. That became a good excuse for us and a lovely story. So we wrote letters to the Secretary General of the Communist Party in the Kremlin, Khrushchev, and to the President of France, to the Prime Minister of England, to President of America, and said to them, this is the story, and we are bringing peace tea from a Georgian woman to deliver to you, so please see it. And we were invited in the Kremlin, and we were invited in the White House. And so that was a beautiful story, and that's how that peace tea became a kind of metaphor for our peace pilgrimage.
It's wonderful, and what a beautiful mission that she gave to you, that you fulfilled. And it makes me think of I have a quote here that you wrote. This was in relation to another pilgrimage that you did from your home in Devon to the holy island of Iona in Scotland. Yes. And you talk about all the hospitality that you received on that journey. And then I love this quote that you have here. You say, sorry, the train is just passing by. Okay. I hope that I received this hospitality like a honeybee. A honeybee goes from flower to flower, takes a little nectar, and turns it into healing and life-giving honey. As it goes, it carries pollen from one flower to another. A pilgrim transforms the love of people into pilgrims' tales, spreading the stories of a sacred journey. Like honey, sacred stories heal wounded souls. I think that's a beautiful quote. And I don't know if you want to say something more about that, or if there are any other experiences that you've had where you've seen that power of the pilgrim stories.
Thank you for giving that quote. I'm delighted to hear that. Yes, this is very true, because when you are walking as a pilgrim, you are sort of pollinating love. And people see you, because I walked for 4 months in Britain, from south of Britain to north of Scotland, up to Iona. And that was 2,000 miles, again, without any money, and trusting people, and being like a honeybee myself. And so when you are going from person to person, and always speaking kind words to them, and always respecting everybody, whoever they are, whatever their background. So I slept in a kind of 4-poster bed in a kind of archbishop's palace, or in a kind of floor on a working class home. And everywhere I was happy, and I was the same. So I think, like honeybee, a pilgrim can reach out to people, and that love that we create is like a honey, very healing honey. And therefore, I would like to see people trusting each other, going from home to home, and receiving guests in their home, as well as giving hospitality, as well as receiving hospitality. And that way we can all live a very good life and a happy life. To be happy, you don't need very much material things. You don't need very much of money and big house and big car and big prestige and big jobs and so on. To be happy, love and kindness and respecting human beings and receiving guests and being a guest and saying kind words to each other, that's the way to be happy. And I was very happy going around Great Britain for 4 months and walking that pilgrimage.
And the things that you've talked about now have been quite a lot about what the pilgrimage, how it can spread change, how it can spread love. And what about the inner transformation of those kinds of journeys?
Yes, of course. The outer transformation and inner transformation are two sides of the same coin. Because without inner transformation, you cannot bring outer transformation. Real outer transformation has to begin inside. Like, how do you transform a seed into a tree? You have to let go of your separation. Harmonious relationship is the way to transform a seed into a tree. So you have a harmonious relationship between the seed and the soil and the water and the sunshine and the air and the forester and all the elements. So that harmonious relationship, and we are all related. We are all kind of bundles of community of relationships. Our body is a home and community of millions of bacteria. Nothing can exist by itself. There's no such thing as a separate individual. We cannot exist. I cannot exist by myself. I'm here because farmers are producing food for me. Builders are building a house for me. Teachers are teaching me and my children. Doctors and nurses are looking after my health. And my neighbors are helping me. So many hundreds of people are doing things which help me to be who I am and how I live. And therefore, that relationship is the key to transformation. So inner transformation and outer transformation go hand in hand together. We want social justice. We want equity. We want equality. We want end of poverty. We want peace in the world. All those things cannot happen unless we cultivate those qualities in our heart, in our soul, in our inner being. So being peace is a way to making peace. So outer and inner go together.
Yeah. Do you think that pilgrimage is something for anyone, that everyone can do, even if they don't consider themselves particularly religious or spiritual?
No, religion is about believing something. You believe in God, you believe in Jesus Christ, you believe in the Bible, you believe something. So you don't have to be a religious. You have to. Spiritual is slightly different. Spiritual is more practicing. Spirituality is about relationship. Like love is about relationship, service is about relationship, compassion is about relationship, all these spiritual words. So it's a practicing. Spirituality is all about practicing in your daily life rather than just believing in love, believing in compassion, believing in kindness, believing in service, believing in peace is not enough. How can Christians go to war? If they are truly Christians, they have to love your neighbor, they have to love your enemy. How can you be, so you can be religious and still you go to war because you are not practicing spirituality. So I would say in order to be a pilgrim, you have to be practicing humility, kindness, compassion, generosity, and all those values that are good for you. You have to practice them. Then you are a pilgrim. And also when you are a pilgrim, you don't expect anything. You have acceptance of everything. Whatever happens in life is fine. And you are not so much concerned about what happened in the past or what is going to happen in the future. Much more, 80% of your attention in the present moment. Whoever you are meeting, wherever you are, whatever the weather, whatever the situation, you accept the situation as it is without expecting anything. Because if you are expecting something and you don't get what you're expecting, you get disappointed. And a pilgrim is never disappointed. But a tourist is expecting good hotel, good service, good aeroplane, good this, good that. And you don't get those. So tourists are mostly disappointed. But the pilgrims are never disappointed. And therefore, to be a pilgrim is to accept the life as it is. And like weather, sometimes the cold, sometimes the warm, sometimes the windy, sometimes the raining, sometimes sun shining. All weather are fine. In the same way, a pilgrim accepts life as it comes, warts and all, ups and downs, pain and pleasure, gain and loss, everything with equanimity, with pleasure. So pilgrim is more robust. Pilgrim is more strong in his or her mind and heart and so on. So I would say being a pilgrim is a very a matter of courageous. You need courage to be a pilgrim. You need, it's not for the faint heart, it's not for the weak, and always kind of comfort and no problems and no difficulties and no hardship and no obstacle, everything kind of smooth and simple and nice. And that's not possible. And therefore, a pilgrim is more like going on the Mount Everest or or whatever. So I did go to Mount Kailash as well in my pilgrimage in Tibet, and 18 days of walking, and that was wonderful. So I would say pilgrimage is much strong and more robust and accepts life as it comes without complaining, without criticizing.
Yes. And it's interesting because there's some aspect of it as well that is, in a way, when you're on a pilgrimage, a specific pilgrimage, in that way, you also, it becomes much easier to declutter your mind from everything that is not important to what you are doing that day and where you are walking that day and the people you are meeting that day.
Yeah.
Because in our overwhelmedness in the everyday life, in a way, I can imagine that the physical, some things get more difficult. It becomes physically very tough and perhaps psychologically straining to not know where you're going to be sleeping that night, or wondering whether people will really welcome you into their homes, etc. But then in another way, you also remove a lot of insignificant worries, perhaps, that otherwise can weigh you down. So it's a very interesting portal, perhaps, to a different way of being.
Yes, to be a pilgrim, you have to welcome every moment and live more in the present moment. Because worrying about the past or worrying about the future, planning the future or worrying about the past doesn't help, because past is past, it's gone. We cannot undo what has been done or gone. And therefore, accept the past as it was and learn from the past, and the future planning. Future hasn't come. So you can do a little bit of planning, but not too much. Mostly, I would say 80% of your attention is in the present moment, and make present moment as best as you can. This is the moment when I can speak to you. This is the moment I can write a poem. This is the moment I can do a garden. I can do some cooking. Everything happens at present moment, and moment is coming. So welcome every moment coming and act in that moment. So my way of being a pilgrim is to live in the present moment. And every moment is a beautiful moment. Every moment is a creative moment. Every moment is a challenge for me. Every moment is my friend. And in that moment, I can be creative, imaginative, I can be poetic, I can be artistic, I can sing, I can dance, I can garden, I can cook, I can love, I can make love, I can produce children, I can do whatever I like. The present moment is the greatest moment that we have in our lives, and we don't value it, and we are always thinking about the future, or the past, and the past, and the past, and we lose our beautiful life at this present moment. And so to be a pilgrim is to live in the present moment.
Absolutely. I'm not speaking from experience, but but I can imagine. Yeah. And it's nice to have a number too, 80%. That seems like, okay, that's perhaps doable. That's good.
Yeah.
And so on this long journey that you did, you also met some of your heroes. You met Bertrand Russell, who was actually incidentally the inspiration for the whole trip, and you met Martin Luther King. It makes me think that, Bertrand Russell, in his case, he had been arrested for protesting against the atom bomb, I guess. And this was what actually sparked you and your friend, Prabakhar, to say, okay, if 90-something Bertrand Russell is doing this, then what are we doing sitting around here in this cafe?
Exactly.
Okay, we got to do something. And of course, it makes you think about, I guess, my question is about, first of all, what it was like to meet these people that you had been admiring from afar, and also this thing about how the actions that we do, we don't know their consequences. We don't know who's going to be inspired by them. So Bertrand Russell, of course, he had no way of knowing that what he did then would inspire you to walk around the world. So yeah, maybe if you have any thoughts on that.
Yes. Bertrand Russell was our inspiration because my friend Prabhakar and I were in a restaurant waiting for our coffee. And during that waiting time, I read this piece of news that this 90 years old great philosopher, Nobel Prize winning Lord Bertrand Russell, has been put in jail because he was protesting against nuclear bombs and for world peace. And so I said to my friend, look at this news. A man of 90 going to jail for peace in the world. What are we doing, young men, sitting here drinking just coffee? So that was a kind of seed of an idea. And that was very inspiring because Bertrand Russell was a wonderful man. And he wanted to say that all our problems can be solved by negotiation. And in the end, wars cannot solve problems. Problems have to be solved by negotiation. And we are all humans and we just give and take. So that was his conviction. And that was very inspiring. And therefore, we took that inspiration. And then we met Bertrand Russell. He was 92 by the time we met him, because it took 2 years for us to go from Delhi to London via Pakistan, Afghanistan, Iran, Soviet Union, Poland, Germany, Belgium, France, then England. And he was in Wales. And so we had a wonderful time with him. And he was still very active. So I want to be active like Bertrand Russell at age 92 and work for peace. And then Martin Luther King was another great inspiration to us because he had given this wonderful speech, I Have a Dream. That speech in Washington was so touching, so moving, so inspiring that when I arrived in Washington, I wrote to him and I said to him, Dr. King, you have a big dream, but I have only a small dream. And my dream is to meet you. And Martin Luther King was very kind. He immediately, by return of post, I received his letter to saying, yes, I read about your peace pilgrimage from India to America, and I'm a great follower of Mahatma Gandhi and a great follower of nonviolence, and therefore I would love to meet you. So please come to Atlanta, Georgia. So we went to Atlanta, Georgia, my friend Prabhakar and I both, and we met. And he was truly an embodiment of peace and love. He was a great radical man. He was in prison for 29 times in his life. He was fighting like nobody can ask a question about his commitment to racial equality and fighting against racism. But he had no animosity, no hatred of white people. He said, white people are my friend and brothers and sisters, as black people are my friends, brothers and sisters. But I don't like this racism. And racism is not good, not only for the black people, but also racism is not good for the white people. So that kind of generosity of spirit and a kind of inclusiveness of heart, an embodiment of love, that was so inspiring. I don't think I have met anybody of that inspiring as Martin Luther King. So I think I've been very fortunate and very lucky to have met such wonderful people. And of course, as you said, my teacher Vinoba Bhave himself was such a wonderful man. So it's a very great fortune and blessing that I have been in contact with such wonderful, remarkable men and women. Particularly my mother was another great example. She was not so famous, but still she was a wonderful, loving woman.
Yes, thank you. Before we go on to talk about the college, I just want to ask you, now we're living in a time where we see an increasing amount of violence and conflict around the world. Do you feel that working for peace is the same now as it was, in the 60s when you did your pilgrimage? Have things changed, or are the same things needed to work for peace now as then?
In the 60s, the conflict was more capitalism versus communism. And the Iron Curtain, the Soviet Union, was a kind of bogey. So now things have changed. It's not so much ideological as communism versus capitalism, because China is very much a kind of capitalist country in its economy, and Russia is no longer a communist country. And yet, this kind of national ego is still very strong. So, I would say that situation is different, and now the peace is much more a kind of understanding that we are all humans, and diversity should be embraced. Diversity of ideas, diversity of economic systems, diversity of political systems. So how Russians rule and how they manage their country should be left to Russians. And Russians have to bring change and transformation from inside, from within, rather than America and Europe telling Russians how to rule their country, or telling Chinese how to rule their country, or telling Iranians how to rule their country. Each country has their different systems, and they have to evolve, they have to change from inside out rather than being imposed from outside. So that is a kind of big challenge at this moment. And I would like to say that world is never going to be one kind of system following in every country. There will always remain diversity, always remain differences, different religions, different systems, different politics. Even if you have democracy, democracy is not the same in Britain as it is in Sweden, or in India as it is in America. So everything is different. So at the moment, the big problem in our world is that we are always trying to bring uniformity rather than diversity. We want everybody to follow the American way, or the capitalist way, or the free market way, or whatever democracy we believe in. I think this uniformity, and not only uniformity in politics, but also uniformity in our production system, in our architecture. Everywhere you go, in every big city, high-rise buildings or American style, or Coca-Cola everywhere, or McDonald's everywhere, or blue jeans everywhere. This uniformity is not natural. Nature is diverse. No two trees are same. No two human beings are same. Even if we have two eyes, like you have two eyes, I have two eyes, but our two eyes are very different. So everybody's different. So we have to, if we want to make peace in the world, we have to embrace diversity and not pursue this uniformity. Uniformity is not unity. Uniformity is the sameness, but the unity is a more implicit. We are all humans. We are all nature. We are all made of earth, air, fire, water. But every human being is different. So unless we embrace this diversity, we are not going to have peace. So our problem at this moment is this pursuit of uniformity. And the second problem in our world today is the kind of our aggressive nature on nature. Aggressive human nature on natural nature, because we are creating this global warming, climate change, biodiversity diminishing, our rivers are polluted, our forests are being destroyed, our oceans are full of plastic. What kind of world we are going to leave for our future generations? What kind of inheritance they will have from us, that they are going to have this polluted world and so much waste and so much consumption. So I think humanity has to wake up, and we have to realize that we have to live a bit more frugal life, and our economy has to be more circular. Whatever comes from nature should go back to nature without pollution, without waste. In nature, there is no waste bin, but in every home, there's a lot of waste we create. And the council sends a lorry or a truck every week to collect our rubbish from every home. Why we create so much waste and pollution and rubbish? So this is a big challenge for our time, which was not so much in the 60s when I was walking. There was a much less pollution, much less waste, much less global warming, much less all those things, even though communism, capitalism, Soviet Union and Europe, they were at a loggerhead. But there are bigger problems today.
Yeah. Well, thank you for providing that perspective. Since you've experienced, you haven't lived such a long life and been active in all of these areas. It's so valuable to get that longer perspective. So, but that's a nice segue into talking about the college, because since your peace pilgrimage, you did so many different things and lived in a lot of different places. You edited Resurgence magazine for a long time, ecological magazine in the UK, and you started a school for children, and then you also started Schumacher College, which is offering kind of holistic, ecological, transformative education in Devon in the UK. And I did my master's there in economics for transition, and it's been such an important place for so many people. And unfortunately, it's not continuing in the same way as it has been, but it's searching its new form, and we can talk about that in a little bit. But something I wanted to talk to you about is that so most of the people studying at the college, they also lived there. And one of the things I enjoyed about it was that we had all these shared tasks. So the cooking was done together. Like I remember every time you came, you would cook Indian food in the kitchen. And I remember joining you there a few times, which was wonderful. So cooking together, cleaning together, eating together, gardening together. Was this always part of the school's philosophy? And can you say something about why you decided to set it up that way?
Yes, because most of our universities and colleges are about knowledge and information. I wanted Schumacher College to be not only about knowledge, but also about experience and wisdom. And how do you gain experience and wisdom unless you are participating in the process of life? And so my motto for Schumacher College was that we should have education of not only head, but education of head, education of hearts, and education of hands. And so how do you bring that education of hearts and hands together with education of heads? And this is why I worked to create this kind of model at Schumacher College, that all our students should participate in cooking, in gardening, eating together, going out in nature, learning from nature. Nature is our teacher as much as I and other teachers are teachers. And so this is the kind of model. At the moment in our universities, we are spending billions and billions and billions of euros and dollars and pounds and so on educating just the head. And not only whole head, but only half head. Because we have two hemispheres in our brain, the left hemisphere and the right hemisphere. Our education is focusing mainly or only on the left hemisphere. And the left hemisphere is more about administration, management, logic, science, measurement, matter. Where the right hemisphere of the brain is more about intuition, imagination, relationship, and respect for nature and a creativity. So our universities are training people only in the left brain to go and get a job. So Schumacher College is there for not only left hemisphere of the brain and half head learning, but both sides of the brain. And this is why we have Ian McGilchrist teaching at Schumacher College, and so on. And then also education of heart, and that's where the courage comes in, because the word car is heart in French, and so courage is a heart quality, and therefore we need to cultivate courage and fearlessness and trusting. And this is why we have all our process of learning, which encourages courage. And then hands. And so gardening or cooking or cleaning or washing up and doing something with your hand, that is very important. So that was the model of Schumacher College. And for 35 years, we were blessed to have patronage from Dartington Hall Trust. But now, after 35 years, there's a new management at Dartington, and they don't want this kind of education, or they don't want to be the patron and the sponsors of this college. So now we are independent, and we own our name and our brand and our intellectual property right, and we are trying to raise funds to buy a new home. And we have got a home in our site, and we want to buy that one. So it has got 80 acres of land. It has got 25 bedrooms. It has got a very beautiful old 200 years old farmhouse. And so we are raising funds to buy that new home so that it will be a Schumacher 2.0. But we will continue the same philosophy of learning about ecology, about environment, our relations with the natural world. because our modern education sees nature as a separate from humans. Nature out there, the mountains, the forests, the animals and the birds are separate from humans. So the first problem is separation between humans and nature in our modern mainstream education. And then second is that we are not only separate from nature, but we are above nature. We are superior to nature, and nature only there as a resource for the economy. Whereas at Schumacher College, we are saying that we are nature. We are not separate from nature. We are not above nature. We are not superior to nature. We are part of nature. And what we do to nature, we do to ourselves. And therefore, and nature is not inanimate. Nature is not a dead kind of something, and just like an inanimate. Nature is a living organism. Nature is a living being. Rivers are living beings, forests are living beings, trees are living beings. And so we must relate to them and not only think about rights of humans, like human rights, but we also should talk about rights of nature. Rivers have rights, forests have rights, animals have rights, oceans have rights, as humans have rights. So this is the kind of fundamental difference between the mainstream education, where nature is only a resource for the economy, whereas at Schumacher College, nature is source of life itself. And this is the kind of work we want to continue, because unless we change our education, we are not going to change our future. We need to have education where young people are training themselves to love nature, to look after nature, to protect nature, and to honor nature, to trust nature, and be part of nature, and not see nature only as a resource for the economy.
Yes. Schumacher calls itself a transformative education, a place for transformative learning, and it really was for me, and I think for a lot of other people. And that's so exciting that you have a new place in mind. And so I would encourage everyone to support it in any way that they can. I can put a link in the description so that anyone who wants to support the college in its future endeavors can do that. It makes me think about how you're still doing this work, and you're still working with helping the college to continue on its journey. And it makes me think about how when you were 18, you left the monkhood, which is a serious thing to do, because then you were sort of considered an outcast by your family and by a lot of people in society. But you felt that, in a way, the way of the Jain monks at that time of turning themselves away from the world was your experience. You wanted to do your work, your spiritual work, in relationship to the world as an activist, as I understand what you're saying about that. So, do you think that is the way to deepen our spiritual journey, is to do it in work in relation to the world?
Yes.
Do you have something to say about that?
Yes. And the thing is that we have to acknowledge that we have received so much from the world. We have received our education, our language, our philosophy, our art, our music, our poetry, our body itself. Everything we have received from society, from nature, from the planet Earth, from evolution. And therefore, it is in a way kind of mutuality, mutual aid and mutuality and reciprocity, which makes the world continue and move forward. And so in that sense of mutuality and reciprocity, we need to give something back to the world, because we have received much more than we can give. But still, everybody gives and then receives. So this is why I think it is very important for me to continue to do something which is contributing to the world, because I'm very grateful. I'm really, really grateful for so much that I have received from the world, from people and from nature. And this is fundamental to my life, that we should serve back and relationship.
Wonderful. Another thing I reflected on when reading your autobiography was how, you've done so many different things in your life. You describe, in a way, flowing flowing like a river, you're continuing to travel. Your autobiography is called No Destination. You're, in a sense, always arriving. And I thought it was very interesting to see how you made decisions, how you let yourself be led through this in these different phases of your life. So
Yes.
a few times you describe having very strong dreams or significant coincidences, like what may be called synchronicities, and how they impact your choices. And so when you write about them, sometimes it seems like certain encounters are almost fated, like when you met your partner June, and these things that it feels like they're written in the stars. So could you say something about, what has your experience with that been? And do you think that we should let our dreams and these experiences of synchronicities, should we let them guide us in our life?
Yes, certainly. Because every opportunity you encounter is opening a door, creating a new opportunity. So reading this piece of news that Bertrand Russell is put in jail gave me an opportunity to think about how can we respond to this situation? What can I do? The moment that you ask that question, what can I do about it? Doors open, new ideas emerge. Your imagination starts to function and work. And therefore, every opportunity you meet, just think, how can I use this opportunity to serve others and love others and be creative and be imaginative and act and do something? This has been, and so ultimately what I have learned is that we are all kind of part of one big universe. One verse, one poem. We are part of one big system. And whole cosmos is our country. Whole planet Earth is our home. Nature is our nationality. Love is our religion. And yet we are rooted in our community where we live. And this way, the community and cosmos are linked. The intimate and the ultimate are linked. And the individual and the universal are linked. So if we see ourselves in this part of big system, which is universe and yet diverse, universe and diverse together, it's a dance. It's a wonderful dance of unity and diversity. And so if we take that dance as our opportunity and contribute to that dance and dance with the dance, go with the dance, and you become the dancer and you become the active. So for me, the activism is a dance of life. Activism is not a burden. Activism is not a sacrifice. Activism is not that I had to do it. But I walked around the world for 2.5 years without any money, 8,000 miles, mountains, forests, deserts, all those landscapes and problems and obstacles, and even prisons. But nothing stopped me. And I felt everything is a gift to life. And so if you have that kind of embracing life as it comes, warts and all, as I said already, pains and pleasures all together, then I think you can make a big contribution and you can enjoy life as it is.
Thank you. Just one final question then is, I think that there are a lot of people who feel very despairing, who feel very depressed about the state of the world, who feel afraid. Do you have anything that you would like to say to them?
I would say that world is a beautiful place. World is not only wars in Gaza and Ukraine. World is not only Putin and Trump and Xi Jinping and Modi and all the politicians and so on. World is full of wonderful people. Farmers are producing good food. Teachers are producing good education. Poets are writing poetry. Artists are making painting. The mountains are flourishing. The forests are beautiful. It's a beautiful world. And we have to love the world. And we have to see humanity, 8 billion people, are not at war. only a small number of people are at war. The larger number of people are at peace, helping each other, looking after each other. So we should not just see the kind of only the negative part of the world. We should also balance that and see in kind of perspective that there are many, many more people who are taking care of each other, loving each other, looking after refugees, looking after poor people, bringing aid to people who are suffering. Even in Gaza, there are thousands of people who are bringing food to poor people, and so on and so on. So I would not advocate depression and a disappointment only. But of course, we must not close our eyes to the problems of the world as well. And so we should remain active. We should do what we can do for peace, for equity, for equality, for justice, for ecology, for sustainability, for regenerative agriculture. All those things we must be active. But at the same time, we should take heart that the world is a beautiful place, and it's a great gift to us that we have such a wonderful place to live. The planet is a very beautiful place. I can't imagine any other planet where I want to live. I want to live on this beautiful planet Earth here. This is a wonderful place. So I'm not depressed. I'm activist without being depressed.
Wonderful. I think we can absolutely learn from your example. Thank you so much, Satish. Unless there's anything you would like to add.
No, it's a great pleasure, Ingrid, to talk with you. And
yes,
thank you for this interview. And wish you all the best.
Yes, the same. And I hope you have a good weekend.
Thank you. You too.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Okay. Bye-bye.
You'll find links to the things we talked about in the episode description. Don't forget that you can sign up for the free Substack newsletter so you get episodes, essays, and events straight to your inbox. If you enjoyed the podcast, please consider supporting it by sharing it with your friends, leaving a review in your listening app, or by becoming a paying supporter on Patreon or Substack. Thank you so much for listening, and I'll talk to you next time.